Okay, guys. So, yeah, yesterday we were discussing about the strongly connected components, and yeah, how do we sort of, yeah, we are still thinking about the problem about how to sort of identify these strongly connected component in any given directed graph, right? So, in that yeah process, what we saw was yeah, the strongly connected components, if you take the component graph, right, the graph that is obtained by taking a node for every strongly connected component and putting an edge between two nodes if there are edges going from one strongly connected component to another. We know that they all will be in one direction. So in that particular direction, we will put the edge in the component graph. So we observed that the component graph of any directed graph will be a DAG, right? So it is a DAG, and then again, based on that, we sort of using the properties we know about DAGs, we said that say there always exists a vertex in a strongly connected component C1, right, which finishes much before or which finishes before every other vertex in C2 if there is an edge from C1 to C2, right? So that is what we did, and which sort of helped us infer that in any directed graph, the vertex with maximum finishing time will be in the source strongly connected component, right? So in the component graph, there is a component which is a source that will become the source strongly connected component, right? So the vertex with maximum finishing time will be in that source strongly connected component. Not only that, we also sort of uh, for any directed graph and any strongly connected component, we used the reachability property. Reachability property was something which we had sort of explored in the very first or second class when we were discussing DFS, right? So using reachability property, what was observed was that suppose you start the DFS traversal, somehow magically, you get a vertex which is there in the sink strongly connected component, right? If you start your DFS traversal from the sink strongly connected component, the DFS, right, will sort of backtrack, or the DFS will not about backtracking, the DFS will sort of visit exactly those vertices in the sink strongly connected component before going into um, the main DFS function again, right? In the explore function, once you start exploring, it will explore exactly those vertices that belong to the sink strongly connected component, because those are exactly the vertices that are reachable from any vertex in the sink strongly connected component, right? So, or in other words, if we are talking about the DFS forest, the forest that the first tree in the forest will always be the vertices that belong to the sink strongly connected component, provided we are starting from a vertex in the sink strongly connected component. So then we thought that yeah, so see if there is a oracle, right? If there is some magical power which could tell us which could give us a vertex in the sink strongly connected component, then we could do this. We could sort of start from the vertex and simply explore and find all the vertices that belong to sink strongly connected component. So later in the class, what Aditya and Shravani said was that so we know how to find a vertex in the source strongly connected component, right? But not sink strongly connected component, but that could be exploited, right? Since it's a directed graph, if you reverse the direction of all the edges, right? So if you reverse the direction of all the edges, the sink strongly connected component becomes a source strongly connected component, right? In the component graph, all the sources will become sinks and sinks will become sources, right? And the strongly connected components themselves don't change. They still remain strongly connected component. That is important, right? So if that were also being changed, then it would be much more difficult, right? But we know that strongly connected components still remain strongly connected components. But once we sort of change the directions, reverse the directions, then the source strongly connected components become sink strongly connected components, and sink strongly connected components become source strongly connected components. So in this graph, where the directions are reversed, now if you look at a vertex with the maximum finishing time, then what can we say?
Sink is
Sir, that it will be in the sink, sir. Like if after reversing the vertex with the maximum finishing time will be in the sink component.
Yeah, in the original graph, it will be in the sink strongly connected component, right? So now once we know that, then we can use this property, right? The reachability property, right? So the idea is basically reverse the edges of G, say to get say GR. Run DFS on GR to get vertex with maximum finishing time.
Sir,
Yes.
or we can take the vertex with maximum finishing time, which is not part of the component. Like once we found the, once we did DFS for the source vertex in the, what is that? The corresponding reversed graph. We found a component, right?
Yes, if we found some vertex, and that vertex will belong to the sink strongly connected component. Yes.
Of the reverse graph, meaning source. Okay. And now
no, it was in the source of the reverse graph, which means that it is in the sink of the original graph.
Okay. Now we'll take the vertex with the maximum finishing time among the vertices which are not sorted into the component, and then that we'll do DFS for that in the reversed graph. We'll get one more component.
Yes, right. So yeah, we will see how we will sort of proceed, right? So we run DFS on the reversed graph, right? And we get the vertex with maximum finishing time, say U, right? So what do we know? U belongs to source strongly connected component in GR, right? In the reverse graph, right? Which is sort of equivalent to saying that U belongs to sink strongly connected component in G, right? So it belongs to sink strongly connected component in G, right? Which is good for us, which is what we wanted, right? Which is good for us. Then the idea is basically, as you guys have already said, run. So run DFS from U on G, right? In the original graph, you run DFS from U. So basically, once you run DFS from U, all the vertices that will be reachable from U will be in basically the sink component, right? Containing U, right? All vertices reachable from U belong to sink strongly connected component. All vertices reachable from U belong to are exactly the vertices in sink strongly connected component, right? So this is good, right? So at least we were able to find one strongly connected component, right?
Sir, there can be multiple sinks, right?
Oh, there can be multiple sinks. We are finding only one sink, one sink strongly connected component. There can be multiple. There can be, I mean, in the worst case, everything can be async, right? Probably that will make the job easier, but still, yeah,
Yes,
which
sir.
means that everything will be the source also. Yeah, there can be multiple. There can be multiple sync strongly connected components. We just know that this maximum vertex with maximum finishing time will be in some sync strongly connected component in the original graph, right? So the maximum finishing time is in the reverse graph, right? So whatever the vertex u, right? U was in the source strongly connected component is in the reverse graph, which means that u is in the sync strongly connected component. It can be in any of the sinks. There can be multiple sinks, right? Sync strongly connected components. Okay. So now we know how to find one sync strongly connected component, right? So now then what do? After this?
Can remove the vertices of the sync component, and then we again do the same thing on the leftover graph.
Recurs, right?
Yeah.
Wonderful. That's a nice thing, right? Once you know something, I mean, this is something you are engineers now. You are once you know something, you know how to use it, right? So that's almost bread and butter for any of the engineers, right? So once we know this, you simply repeat it again and again till you get whatever you want, right? So what you do, so you simply once you find all these vertices, you simply delete those vertices. You delete those vertices in the graph and you recurse, right? So you sort of recurse and you don't have to find the reverse graph again, because the same reverse graph, once you delete these vertices, will still do, right? So you could do that. So then you sort of yeah, say, yeah, you have a delete these reachable vertices and recurse, right? So and again go back and do the same thing. So once you go back, so you again find then vertex with maximum finishing time that will be in some source strongly connected component of the new graph, right? So the new graph maybe it is again say G1, right? So there it will be in some source strongly connected component, but once you come to the original graph, it will be in some sync strongly connected component. Again, you run a DFS from that vertex and you again find all the vertices that belong to sync strongly connected component, right? And you keep on doing this, right? So is this fine?
So, how
Yeah.
do we find that do the second last step? We have to find the vertices which are reachable from U. We have to
That
check
is
the reverse direction also, right? Once you can reach the vertices in one direction, the previous vertex should be reachable from those vertices, right? From in the opposite direction.
exactly. That is correct, right? But what do we that follow? Does that follow from property 1? So what did we say in property 1? Suppose you start the DFS from the sync strongly connected component. Okay. So if you start the vertex from the sync strongly connected component, what are the vertices that will be reachable? So you definitely can reach since it's a strongly connected component, you can reach every vertex in the strongly connected component, right? And since
Okay,
it's a
so
sync, yeah, yes, Alan.
yeah,
Go
so
on.
it can't go outside that sink. It can only go
Exactly.
within the sink. Okay.
It can go within the sink, and it not only just that, it will go to every vertex within the sink, right?
Yeah, I understood.
That is important. So it should explore every vertex within the sink. So since it is strongly connected, right, it will definitely reach all the vertices in the strongly connected component, which is this sink, and it can never go out, right? So which means that is why, see, notice that initially I had written that it belongs to that. I didn't want that confusion at all. That's why the choice of these words. All the vertices reachable from you are exactly the vertices in the sync strongly connected component, right? So there is nothing less, there is nothing more, right? So you sort of keep repeating this. Is this fine?
Because take more time. Like again, we run the DFS on GR multiple times.
Yes, we take also. Okay, let us do that at least, since you came up with, you are talking about time. What will be the time complexity of this?
Number of components into n.
Number of components into n. Why number of components into n?
So basically what we are doing is we are running the DFS once for each component. So DFS takes O of n times, and there are we run it uh, number of
Why are we
component
running?
times.
Yeah, why
So
are we running DFS for every component? So when we are running it for every component, what are the edges that are sort of explored? So let me just, yeah, so so this is a step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, step 6, say 7. Yeah, which step are you saying is utilizing more time?
so like
What's calling the DFS on GR?
Yeah, notice that one thing to note is that this is the step which had to be done again and again, right? On the same kind of edges, right? Notice that though we are calling DFS here, the fifth step and sixth step, right? Notice that at every call, the vertices visited and the edges sort of used for the exploration are unique, right? Because once you run DFS on that sync strongly connected component, you are removing it. You are not running on those vertices and edges again later in the later steps, right? So here, whatever you do here, you are doing, you can sort of count those things based on the number of edges, right? So the number of edges in the whole
Sir.
graph. Is that
Sir.
fine? Yeah, please.
We don't need to create a new graph every time. Like without creating new graph, only we can.
Yeah, we will come to that, right? So, so is this clear? Is this clear that these steps of when we run DFS on these things, right? No edge is visited more than say twice, right? So we run it only when you start from U, right? Once it comes back to sort of the main function again, we can even stop it, right? We are not even bothered to continue further, right? So you are not running, you are not exploring every vertex here, basically. Once the DFS traverser backtracks and it comes again to the main function, you can even stop it, right? Thereby ensuring that you are not sort of running on every vertex again and again, right? So you are only exploring those vertices in these steps, right? Exactly, maybe constant number of times, right? Maybe once or twice. But here is the place where we are sort of running it on every edge more than, I mean, exploring every edge or vertex more than once, right? More than even constant number of times, right? Because for each time you are finding only one component, right? So is that fine? So the important thing is to see, when you are analyzing an algorithm, the important thing is to see where we are going, sort of where it is being used more. Here, this is not a problem at all. Somehow we need to tackle this, right? We need to tackle, so we can also tackle this, right? The first one is not an issue. Once you have created a reverse graph, you can still delete vertices from there. That is not the issue, right? So it is about this finding the vertex with maximum finishing time, right? So each time you are trying to find the vertex with maximum finishing time, that again takes quite a bit of time. And still, what Janman said initially was correct. It takes, if the number of strongly connected components is k, it takes something around k into m plus n time, right? So, but the contributing factor is this step, right? It is the step 2, which sort of takes the k into m plus n time. Not any other steps. Other steps you can still do it in linear time with respect to the whole graph. Is that fine?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So in other words, a loose sort of
So for upper bound, we can take the number of components equal to n only, no?
yeah, you can always do that. So it is something like k into m plus n, which would sort of become something like k can be at most n. So order of n into
Or
m plus n.
square, yeah, n square plus mn. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So sort of a quadratic algorithm, right? So which is not bad, right? Because since still it's a polynomial time algorithm, and when it is quadratic, it is still considered good enough, right? It is not too bad. You can still for even large number of vertices, you can still run the program in within seconds, right? So n square is still not bad, right? Once it goes to n cube, you need to worry a bit, right? But still n and n square, it is not so bad, right? But we would definitely want it to be better if possible. That is the natural sort of inquisitiveness, right? Can we improve this? So this is what sort of I said in the very first class with respect to algorithms. First, what we will do is to sort of find one proper algorithm. See, one proper algorithm, I think many of you initially Dharmik or someone or Chaitanya came up with some algorithm, right? Where you could start from every vertex and find the vertices in all the strongly connected component pertaining to that particular strongly connected component by basically checking for every pair of vertices if there is a path from every pair of vertices x and y, right? If there is a path from x to y and y to x, right? So you could do these kind of things, and you could do that. Is also a good thing, and I think it is also still polynomial. You might be able to do it in order of n cube or n to the power 4 time, right? Then yeah, we wanted something better than that, and we sort of did this, and we sort of improved it substantially, right? So we could get it in n into m plus n time, right? Good. Now I think, yeah, can we improve this further? Now Prajwal was saying something.
Like not so much difference that like once we find a component, we are deleting vertices from GR and again finding DFS, right?
Yes.
We don't need to do that. Like
What
once
you are saying is you
separate,
don't need to do this second step again and again, is it?
yeah.
Why?
Once we separate a component, we find the vertex of maximum finishing time among the vertices which are not separated into components or grouped into components.
Oh, okay. So out of the
That
remaining
will be,
vertices, you can, with respect to the old finishing time itself, you can find the maximum one, is it?
yeah.
Okay.
So
Why?
that will
Why will
be
that
the
work?
source.
So what Prajwal is saying is, so you ran DFS on GR and you found some ordering, right? So found some ordering of vertices, right? So say ordering of vertices in some finishing time. U was the first one, say next one was V1, V2, something, some VKs, so on and so forth, right? Till some whatever, so some vertex, right? So this is the order, decreasing order of finishing times of any vertex. So now what we did was we took U and you ran DFS on it, and you found all those vertices in the sync strongly connected component containing U, right? So and deleted them, right? So once you sort of delete them, so this goes away, maybe this goes away, so on and so forth. This goes away, right? So all these things go away. There can be some VI1 here, right? So yeah,
I
there will
don't
be
think
some
that, sir. Sir, like
VI.
there will be hello, sir.
Yeah, go on.
Sir, there will be a counter example for this. Like we can't just take like we remove those vertices from the finishing time array and then say that the remaining array's minimum finishing time will be the sync.
Yeah, there can be gaps here which belong to the thing. So it is
Like
something.
suppose,
Yeah.
sir, there are three components, A, B, and C, where A is the parent of B and C.
Mm. These are
Then,
components, is it? Components.
yes, sir.
Mm. Okay, this is B and C. Yeah.
Now, suppose, sir, like we yesterday we saw that there can be a vertex in A which has a finishing time less than B and C.
Yeah, that is
So,
possible.
suppose, like in this case, we found the sync strongly connected component as B, but now
Yes.
still the lowest finishing time is in A, but A is not a sync.
No, we are not bothered about the worst finishing time, right? We are bothered about the best finishing time, right? In the reverse graph. In the reverse graph, the vertex with maximum finishing time was here, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So then we deleted this. Okay. So
Yes.
in the same ordering, now can we say something? Notice that there is an edge like this, right? There is an edge from A to C in the original graph, right? Which means that in the reverse graph, there would be an edge from C to A, right?
Yes,
Now,
sir.
what can we say? Does there exist a vertex with finishing time greater than every vertex in A?
Oh, yes, sir.
Right? That is true, right? So
Yeah, yes, sir.
that is the property I think Prajwal is trying to exploit, right? So what we know is that, so if I write that property again, right? If C1 and C2 are strongly connected components and there exists an edge from, say, this can be any graph, right? C1 to C2, then there exists a vertex in C1 having greater finishing time than all vertices in C2. Right? This was something like lemma 3 or something, right? We had written earlier, right? So this can still be used, right? So out of the remaining, so what, so you found, you ran DFS on GR and you found this ordering, right? So we found this ordering. This ordering also gives us something good about finishing times of at least one vertex in these components, right? So suppose once we sort of delete all the vertices, the vertex with the maximum finishing time in the resulting list that is left out, suppose it is Vi. Now the claim is that Vi again belongs to some sync strongly connected component in the original graph, right? So is that fine? So is that what you are saying, Prajwal?
Yes, sir. We can prove that by contradiction also, like method of contradiction.
Yeah, again you will be using the same property, right? So we started from some GR, we went to some G1R, right? Here V1, we say that V1 is the vertex with maximum finishing time with respect to GR itself, right? So we, in the remaining vertices. So what we know is that this vertex, right, has to be in some sync strongly connected component with respect to the new graph, right? So yeah, if not, if it has some incoming edge from some other component which is still not deleted, right? Then this property will be violated, right? So it will be a contradiction, right? So is that fine?
So,
Yeah.
so
Please.
we can do one thing. I think we only need to find the finishing times of all the vertices once, and then
Yeah, that is what.
maintain a list of the finishing times in order. Like we
That
can
is what we
sort
are
the
doing.
finishing time. Sorry.
That is what we are doing. We are sorting the finishing times, right?
Okay, I don't know. Probably that's the same.
That's what
method you're
Prajwal
explaining.
said. Yeah.
Like then once we remove the deleted components on that list, then what we want to find is a maximum finishing time again. So in that remaining list, the maximum finishing time will be, you can easily find that by checking the first element or the last element of the sorted list, and then do that step, right? Is that the same method?
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same what Prajwal was saying, right?
Okay, I didn't catch that.
Okay. I think what Prajwal said was you run DFS on GR, right? Instead of just finding the vertex with maximum finishing time, you order the vertices according to their finishing times, right? In the decreasing order, right? The way we did it with the topological sort or anything. So in the you definitely know the decreasing order, right? You order it along the decreasing order of finishing times, right? Now once you delete those vertices which are reachable from some single strongly connected component, whatever in the remaining list, whatever is the first one, whatever has the maximum finishing time, is saying that will be a vertex in the single strongly connected component of the new graph. Okay. So is that
but
fine?
that would add another n log n time complexity to it.
Okay, why will it? So does everyone believe this? Right? Whatever is happening, then we'll come to what Pranav is saying. So any doubts with respect to this?
So what is V1? Like you have written GR to G1R.
Yeah, V1 is VI, right? So VI was the next vertex with maximum finishing time once you deleted all the vertices that belong to the single strongly connected component containing U.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So what we are saying is not now Vi is the vertex with Vi is a vertex in G1 which is in a single strongly connected component of G1. Okay. Good. So is everyone fine with this? That we need to sort of do the DFS on GR only once, right?
Sir,
so once
can you explain the proof again?
Yeah, which one?
Like if we remove the vertices from the first sink, then the topological ordering will still remain the same.
Okay, yeah. So let us go through it. That is the most important thing here, right? So you can take times to. So first, what are we doing? So we say here run DFS on GR, right? So and order vertices decreasingly with respect to finishing time. Right? Suppose that order is something like we said that U was the vertex with maximum finishing time. So it will anyway start with U, right? Then it is something say V1, V2, V3, V4, V5, so on and so forth, right? Till some Vn minus 1, right? It is like this, right? So this is some labeling. This we have ordered these vertices with respect to their finishing times, right? It is a decreasing order, right? Which means that U has the maximum finishing time, right? And among the rest, V1 has the maximum finishing time, and so on and so forth. Okay. Now we said that U, right, belongs to a single strongly connected component in G, right? If you take G, in G, U belongs to single strongly connected component. So then what did we do? We ran DFS starting from U and we found all those vertices that belong to single strongly connected component and we deleted them. Once you deleted them, what you obtained was a graph G1, right? G1 was the graph with the vertices of the vertices in single strongly connected component containing U, they were removed, right? So once they were removed, we obtained G1. So So what we deleted all these vertices, right? So you also delete those vertices from this ordering, right? So which means that we are deleting u from here. Maybe v1 also belongs to that component we did it. V2 might not belong to it. V3 might belong to it. V4 might belong to it. V5 does not belong to it. So on and so forth. All those vertices which belong to the sync strongly connected component, right, containing u, we will delete it from the list, right? Next, the claim is in G1, right? Say V2, right, belongs to a sync strongly connected component, right? In G1, right? It might not be in G, but in G1 it belongs to a V2 belongs to a sync strongly connected component. So this is what we are claiming. Now, why is this true, right? So what has happened? We have obtained U, which belongs to a string sync strongly connected component. Suppose there were a lot of components here. So this is a component graph, right? Suppose U belong to somewhere here, right? And we remove that component, right? So once you remove that component, right? So this goes away, right? And the next, now we are ordered the, so the rest of the ordering is this way, right? Now let us see where V2 can sort of lie, right? So can V2 be say here? Can V2 be in this component? Say this is C1, C2, C3, C4. Can V2 be in C1?
Sir, is G1 the graph G with all the vertices removed, the sync components?
Yeah, no, yeah, all the vertices. The C5 was the component which contained U. I have removed all those vertices, right? Now, can V2 is the vertex with the next maximum finishing time, right? Among the remaining vertices, V2 has the maximum finishing time, right? So in that ordering. Now we are trying to see where V2 can lie in the graph G1. Can it lie in the component C1?
No, sir.
No.
It should be
Why?
in C2 or C4.
Why? Why can't it be in C1?
Because we should reverse it and then take the DFS. Right?
So C1
Yeah.
is a source, right?
Yeah. So in the reverse in the reverse graph, it is like this, right? The reverse graph looks like this. Yeah. So yeah. So what is the problem if V2 lies in C1?
There is an edge from C2 to C1, so it's again.
There is an edge from C2 to C1. We know that there should exist a vertex in C2, right, which has finishing time more than V2, right, in any DFS traversal, right? So that was the property with respect to any DFS traversal. In any DFS traversal, right, there should exist a vertex X here which has greater finishing time than V2, right? Which contradicts our assumption that V2, right, has more finishing time than any of the other vertices in G1, right? So which means that V2 cannot lie here. This is not correct, right? This whatever we have written, this is not correct. Okay, is this fine, Aryaman?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I got it.
Okay, so yeah, everyone else. So did you get why this is true? Right? So whatever the DFS you take, right? So suppose there is an edge. This property is very important, right? So you take it is sort of independent of the DFS traversal. There can be innumerable DFS traversals you can sort of do for a particular graph. Whatever DFS traversal you take, suppose C1 and C2 are strongly connected components and there is an edge from C1 to C2, then there always exists a vertex in C1 which has finishing time greater than every vertex in C2, right? So that is the property that is there. So that should always be valid, right? So V2 in G1 should always be there in a sync strongly connected component. It can't be here, but in fact V2 can be here, right? It can be here, right? V2 can definitely be here because it is there is no incoming edge in the reverse graph to the component C2. So it can even be here. It can also be here also. V2 can even be here, right? Because there is no edge coming into this, right? There is no edge coming into C4 in the reverse graph, right? Notice that the ordering is with respect to the reverse graph. Okay. So is that fine? Okay.
Yes,
So
sir.
okay. So this so by the idea Prajwal said, so you don't have to do this again and again. So once you do it once and obtain the sort of sorted order, right, of decreasing time, sorted in the decreasing order of their finishing times, you can simply use this ordering itself, right? You don't have to go back to the reverse graph again and again, right? This whole reverse graph thing, you are doing it just once, right? That is indeed good. Okay, now let us come back to what Pranav was saying. Pranav, you were saying something like this again takes n log n time.
No, sir, I thought we were sorting an array, but we weren't. So yeah, let's.
Yeah. So the problem was this, right? So we are still sorting. We are ordering the vertices in the decreasing order of their finishing times, right? There is a sorting involved there, but we can still use the idea what we used in the topological sort, right? So you can use a stack, right? You can use a stack to push it. The way you implement that stack is up to you. You can use linked list to implement it, right? Or you have a linked list and you sort of add it in the beginning. Yeah, once the vertex finishes, right? Once the vertex finishes, you add it to the beginning of the list, right? So which means that the vertex at the end of it, the vertex at the starting point in the list as the maximum finishing time, which it has finished later than any other vertex, right? So you can use an extra data structure, right? So where you sort of keep on pushing these things once it finishes when we are running GR to get the order of decreasing order of finishing times, right? So you can do that sort of sorting using an extra data structure within the time frame of running the DFS on the reverse graph. Okay. Okay. Now what is the running time?
It is like O of n plus m only, or we can say like 2 into n plus m, because we are running the DFS on GR first, and then on each component we are running the DFS. So every vertex is visited twice.
Yeah, 2 into m plus m is that yeah, that doesn't matter, right? When we say O of m plus n, everything is.
So it is O of n plus m only, sir.
Yeah, because even the DFS, we never said that it was just m plus n. It is order of m plus n, right? So,
Yes,
so we are running 2 DFS. It is still order of m plus n, right? So this is a yeah. So linear time algorithm to find all the sync strongly connected components. Okay. So here when you are doing this, you can even label those vertices so that, or you can put them in separate lists so that you always have those lists which with different strongly connected components. I think. So I am leaving that. Yeah.
Can we say that it is like of m only, like because m is, we proved that it will be.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So this is the general way of writing, so that even if n is bigger, it is captured. That's all.
So,
Okay.
yeah. So technically, it will be like m plus n log n, right, sir? So we can ignore n.
No, why n log n?
So we are sorting, right?
No, we discussed that, right? We are not sorting.
Oh, we can use stack. Okay. Yes,
yeah, you can use a stack or a linked list implemented as a stack, right? Where you add at the beginning of the list, right? Always, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so using stack is not good because when you are deleting it creates problems. So better is to use the list, right? Use a list or something. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So you can, even if you use a stack, you can look at the visiting times, whether the vertex is visited, and you can remove it, right? So that is one good thing. So we can do it in linear time. We can find all the strongly connected components of a given directed graph. So let me just erase this and give the algorithm in a concise manner. So whatever we did, right? So this DFS that we are running in steps 5 and 6, right? So do we need to run it again and again?
So no, right?
So though we are running it again and again, we are running on different things. Can we do it with a single DFS?
So I think if you're ordering it like Prajwal said, then maybe not.
Yeah, we are ordering it. So can we use a single DFS based on this ordering?
Like we can keep something like a visited array, right? Like
Yeah, that is always there. That the visited
marker.
array is always there in our
Yeah,
DFS. We are still using the DFS.
So then, like, if we start from the maximum one, we just continue on.
Yeah. So once you start from the maximum one, once it finishes, it will come back to our DFS function. From the explore function, it will come back to our DFS function. Then the next vertex that will be started is V2, right? So once so you can change the component label at that time, right? Once it comes to this DFS function, right? We add this DFS function here. We were visiting it in arbitrary order, but here, so we will calling the DFS function or the explore function in a particular order, right? So call explore function in the order of decreasing finishing time. Obtained earlier, right? We had obtained the order of decreasing finishing time, right? So you call this explore function in that order if it is not visited. If it is visited, you will never call it. And at that point, we can also sort of increment the component label, right? So initially it would be 1. So you otherwise you keep on increasing. You start from 1, right? You all the vertices in the strongly connected component containing U will be labeled 1. Then so the component number increases, right? Other than visited, you will also be setting this, right? Then whatever the strongly connected component containing V2, all those vertices will be labeled 2 and so on and so forth, right? If you want, you can also keep it in a different array, right? That is not an issue. Okay. So in that sense, you can use simply a single DFS, right? So instead of stopping it there, you can keep on you can continue processing, right? Just by increasing the component count or the label which you want for to label the vertices in that particular component. Okay. So is that fine? So in other words, so just let me yeah.
Like when we separate out a component, we have to take out the vertices from that list or stack, right?
Yeah, you need to take it out.
That
They will be marked
complexity
visited. You don't have to take it out from a stack. You can even take it out from a list, but you don't even have to take it out, right? Because they will be marked visited. As long as you don't visit them again, you are fine, right?
Like how do we mark it's visited? Like
the DFS will mark it as visited, right? Every time the DFS goes, right? We are not basically removing it. We just don't have to process it. That's all, right? So once it is marked visited, the DFS marks every vertex as visited, right?
Yeah, but that how in the linked list, how do we mark this?
No, in the
Like,
link,
it will
we
be
don't
in
even
some
have to do
random
that.
place.
Yeah, we don't even have to mark it in the linked list, right? So we will mark it in the, see what is the algorithm doing? So algorithm finds this order. So once you find this order, you simply run DFS on this DFS on the graph, but you process the vertices in the order of which we have obtained here, right? What happens when we process in this order, right? So you would be the first vertex that would be processed, right? Once it goes to the explore function, it will mark every vertex in the strongly connected component containing u as visited, right? Then you come back, then you sort of
So, but like it will be connected, right? Like
mm,
after, like
no, see, the thing is, we see that is one way of looking at it. The other way is we are not even worried about whether we are not even worried about where in the linked list these vertices are there, because we are not even deleting them. Once we mark them visited, they are as if they are deleted, because you are never going to explore them again,
Then
right?
how, like,
but we need
time
the
of
maximum finishing
execution?
time, right? Like apart from them, the new maximum finishing time. Then
Yeah,
for
for that,
that
how
we
do
have.
we calculate?
Yeah. So what happens? Let us see what happens. So the algorithm now is so let me write the algorithm, right? So first is
So,
reverse.
so basically, I think what the problem is that once you find the maximum vertex, you
Hmm.
still have to explore that full component, right? And so that will take time because you want to remove every vertex in that component.
Yes, we are not
So
removing.
however,
Yes,
or
that's
yeah,
the thing.
so if you want to keep the visited flag like as
Yes.
visited, you still have
Hmm.
to explore that full component, no sir.
Yes, we
And
are
so that will
exploring
take
that full
time.
component. That will take only time equal to the number of edges in that component, right?
Yeah. So is that extra time that will be added again, or like will that
No,
how
right?
will make
You will
sure?
never explore that component again.
No, like once you finish the full DFS of the full graph once, you find the maximum, the vertex U basically. We find vertex U. So
Hmm.
do we have to run DFS again on that component in G, not in G
Yes.
reverse? So that will
Not
take
in
more
G
time.
reverse. That will take more time. It's again one more DFS. That's what we are saying.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
No, sir. Like me and Prajwal, what me and Prajwal are saying is, like, suppose we first found the first sync component. After
Yes.
that, like, we need to find the next maximum finishing time for the other component.
Yeah,
So,
that will always be there in the list, right?
but how will we do that? Because like we have to take the maximum of the list apart from those vertices, right?
Exactly. So you don't even have to do that, right? So what we are doing is, so let us come back to our say DFS so procedure. So in the DFS procedure, what do we do? So here we do some initializations. We will set the visited flag of everything to false, right? Some initializations. We will do some initializations here, right? Then what did we do? For each vertex, right? In the in the graph, we call the DFS, right? We call the explore function. Explore was our another function, right? Before doing that, what did we do? So this was one DFS. Before we even did this, right? We had obtained a list, right? Here we have a list of vertices ordered with respect to decreasing finishing times. This is a different DFS which we are doing, decreasing finishing times.
So will the list contain the information of the vertices also, like the adjacency with the other vertices?
No, it
Or
doesn't have
just
to. Nothing. It doesn't have to. That is there in the adjacency list which we have, right? This is just the ordering. Okay. We are given some ordering. Okay. So it doesn't have to contain anything, right? Nothing is there. Now everything visited of everything is set to false. We just have this list. This is obtained from the reverse graph, right? So that is a different module. You have obtained it somehow, and that module has given you as output, right? Here the output is just this list, right? So now what we are doing is in this DFS function, if you go back to your previous notes, you will see that we were calling, right, the explore function here, right? The procedure was something like for each, right, u belong to v of g, right? It was something like if visited of u is equal to false, right? Then we called explore. Then we call explore. Then explore u, right? So this was the sort of function, right? But this is what we will be changing here. It is not any vertex for, it is not for each vertex, right? So we will call this, we will process these vertices in this ordering, right? So what we will say is for each vertex in the list and in the order specified, the order is specified to us. Now what do we do? In that order specified, we will, if the visited flag of that particular vertex, right, whatever vertex that comes there, right, some vi, right, if it is false, then we will call explore vi, right? So probably before calling explore, we can even increase the component label, component plus plus. Only when it is false, we can do this, right? Then we call this explore, right? This will go and explore the component which contains vi and all those vertices which are in the strongly connected component containing vi. Is this fine? So yeah, here what will be the first vertex that will be explored?
So basically, like we are sorting it, right?
We are sorting it. Definitely, we are sorting it. That is, this sorting is done in the done in another function where you are reversing the edges of the graph and you are sort of giving it as an, right? The sorting is in another procedure, right? So that
we previously said that we don't need to sort and we can use a data structure instead. Like how will we?
So that is done by this DFS, right? See, this DFS is for the second one. This is when you are counting the component. There was a different DFS to obtain this list of vertices, right? So that DFS was something like that. That DFS got the graph as G reverse. It got the reverse graph, right? And the output of this is the list. Output is a list. And that output is something which we have sort of getting it here.
So the second DFS which you wrote is the one which you are using below, right? The explore in the explore VI. Okay.
Yeah. Is this fine? Or is there still some confusion?
It's clear, sir.
No, think about it. Yeah, if there is anything, this is so. Yeah, this is a very good algorithm. I think let me just write the algorithm, right? I think now you guys already know it. So if probably I could have written this algorithm at the beginning of the class, right, without doing any of these things, I think that would be it. This algorithm, I think, for finding strongly connected component looks magical. I mean, if you simply first look at the algorithm, you will not understand the head and tail of it, right? Because you are simply doing some DFS and it magically works, right? So strongly connected components. Now, what is the algorithm, right? Given G, obtain GR, right? Reversal of G, right? Or even the transpose graph, right? Of G, right? Basically where every arcs are reversed. Then after that, what do you do? Run DFS on the reverse graph to find the list of vertices ordered with respect to the decreasing finishing times, right? You simply take this graph GR, that reverse graph, and you run DFS there, and the output of that algorithm is a list of vertices with which is ordered with respect to decreasing finishing times, right? Now the third one is basically in G, run DFS but process the vertices in the order that is specified in, say, step 2, right? So output each, I can even say each tree in the DFS forest as a separate strongly connected component, right? So you simply, once you do one DFS, you will get different trees, right, in the forest. Each tree corresponds to a separate strongly connected component, right? So this is the algorithm. The algorithm is just 4 steps where you are using 2 DFS. And see, if you look at this algorithm, initially it's completely magical, right? You simply do the reversal and you run some DFS there and you get the finishing times. And once you run sort of another DFS here, you are magically getting every tree is a strongly connected component, right? So without sort of going through why all these things happen, if you simply do this, this is completely magical, right? So we don't even know why these things sort of work. But we have seen in the last 2 classes, last 2 or 3 classes, why all these things work, right? So there is a reason. The underlying sort of DAG structure of the component graph helps us here, right? Helps us here, and the correctness of this algorithm was basically proved in the last 2 classes, right? Last 2 class and this class also, right? All the properties and lemmas we obtained were to sort of prove the correctness of this, right? Basically, that is how even algorithms are sort of developed or designed. You don't come up with an algorithm and then try to prove the correctness, right? So you sort of think about some property, and then we will see if we can exploit that property, right? So is this fine? Is this clear? So now you guys can ask. I have written the algorithm. Now if you have any doubts, anyway, we can go through that. This is
not
just
related to this algorithm, but
yeah.
Finding the sync component, a vertex in the sync component.
Mm.
Instead of performing DFS in the GR, can we perform BFS in G?
Okay, can we perform DFS in G, and what will be that vertex?
BFS, breadth first search.
Breadth first search in G.
The last
Okay.
one will be sync. Won't the last vertex?
Will the last vertex be a sync? Why? That you need to prove. So you are saying that the vertex sort of in the lowest level, right?
Yes, sir.
Will be a sync. Think about it. We'll start the BFS from the next class. The class or everyone. So at least understand that I don't know BFS yet, right? Or the properties of BFS. So once you remember this question, right? So once we come to BFS, we will revisit your question and we will try to answer it there. Okay. Okay. Once we sort of study BFS and understand it, then we will be at a better position to sort of answer Chaitanya's question. Okay. Yeah, which I will start from the next class. Anyway, after for 2-3 classes at least we will be able to sort of answer this question. So yeah, that is also one more reason maybe why I am not using any BFS here. Since I have only taught you DFS as of now, I am using only DFS and things like that. Maybe BFS can be used, right? We will see to it when we sort of learn BFS and every property related to it. Yeah. So yeah, any more questions? Is the algorithm clear or is it confusing? Notice that we have done the correctness of this algorithm. The correctness of the algorithm is whatever we did in the last 2-3 classes. So if I ask you, or in other words, since you guys are very much, I don't know, you don't have to be too worried about exams or tests. So if I ask you to write an algorithm, so if you write this much, right? If there is, if the question is for 5 marks and if you write this much, you might at max get 0 or off. Okay. So you might not even get a 1. Okay. What I want is the proof, whatever we did in the last 2 classes and the class before this. The correctness proof is very important. I am not, because see, anyone can write this, right? You can simply look at a book and write this. Though you might not be sort of looking at the book when you are writing your answers, but you have memorized this. That is nothing. I don't see any difference in that because you don't know why this works. The sort of correctness of this is every property we proved in the last 2 class and in the beginning of today's class. Okay. So only then your algorithm is correct, right? So once you write all that, only then sort of it gives me a confidence that you know the algorithm. Otherwise, you don't know it. You simply have a sort of heuristic procedure, right? Which you think that it works. It might not even work, right? So you need to prove the correctness of it. Okay. So that is required for every algorithm. Every algorithm we study in this course, the correctness of that algorithm is extremely important. And then the analysis, right? Then you sort of analyze the running time and use good data structures to improve it and things like that. Okay. So both these aspects you should be very clear about, right? Just knowing the algorithm, is nothing actually. That doesn't say anything. Basically, you don't even know, right? You have simply mugged it up or you have simply memorized it from some book or some lecture. Right? So that will be the goal of this course. The goal of this course is to sort of just like in any other course, just like in discrete math also, right? So it is not that you know the statement. Knowing the statement is pretty easy. That is also not the knowledge. You have memorized the statement. Knowing the statement means that you know everything around it. You know how to get it. You know how to sort of why that statement is true, why it is correct. You know a proof for it. You might not know every proof of it, but you should know at least one proof of that particular statement. Okay. So is that fine?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Any questions? Someone else first.
No, sir.
Okay, good. So yeah, think about it, go back and think about it. And one more suggestion I would give, which I would strongly recommend every student to do, is to sort of go back and implement this. Okay, now you guys know about data structures, and I think you are also doing data structures lab, right? You guys shouldn't have waited till now to sort of implement all these things, right? Go back and try to implement these things on your laptop or computer, or just try to implement every of these things even on a book, right? If you yeah, can't use other things, if you don't have access to the laptop at a particular amount of time, you can do it later when you have the access, right? So but you write the C code, right? For everything, you write every line, you define every variable, and you sort of write the whole program in your book, right? And try to sort of see why these things work and how it works in the C program. And if you have a laptop or if you have a computer, please go ahead and implement it and try to see how it runs and how to sort of represent it, and try to even display these trees, right? That will improve your programming skills quite a bit, and it will also sort of help you to understand how these algorithms and data structures are intimately related, right? So is that fine?
Sir,
Yeah.
if you know of any, could you suggest some libraries which can compactly display a graph? If we can supply a graph to a
There is nothing visual things. I don't know, man. I am very much poor with respect to this visual display. There used to be, so there are some graph libraries, but maybe it also requires some other things. I think the better thing is to ask your seniors, because when I was sort of doing all these things during at your age or a bit higher, when I was programming things, whatever I used to use are no more there now, right? So I think these guys, there are some Python sort of libraries which are used to display graphs, or if you want, actually you can even write it from write a C program. You can write bare bones C program using some Linux toolkits, right? So or where basically you need graphics, right? So you need to take the pixels of your screen, and you need to program it, right? So that is how I did it, right? When these sort of libraries are not sort of so much in vogue, right? Before all these Python things are not there. Now I think it is much more easier. You can use Python scripts to do this very easily. Okay, so you can ask your seniors. I think some people, at least someone will know it. Okay, if I know of anyone, I will ask them to sort of teach you one time. Is that fine?
Yes, sir.
Okay, guys. So at least that is something you should ask your seniors. At least that will build a rapport with your seniors, which will help you guys. Okay. So any other question? Yeah. So if not, so we will end the class here.